welcome to this evening. And before we get started, I wanted to make a special announcement. There are 3 ladies today that got recognized by the Hall of Fame for their contribution to skiing over their lifetime. And those ladies happen to be Cheryl Jensen, Diane Boyer, and Maria Bogner. And if there are 2 of them are here, Cheryl and Diane, if you'd please stand so we can give you a big applause. I don't know where you are. Thank you for all you've done for skiing. So my short announcement is merely going to be saying thank you for being here tonight. It is such a special night for people in their passage through life. I'd ask you, how many people have been to an induction ceremony? How many people have not been to an induction ceremony before? If you put your hand up. It's going to be an exciting evening. For those people that are being inducted this evening, it truly is a milestone in all of their accomplishments in life. Their passion for skiing, their passion for the industry is evident by the votes that they received in the process of getting elected. They are going to be recognized this evening through some videos that we've taken of them, and through Tom Kelly and Dan, who are going to talk about their commitment to the industry and their impact on the industry. And we thank you for being here because it's going to be a memorable night for everybody in this room. Thank you.
And now let's see an opening message from our host sponsor, Big Sky Resort.
Sometimes, all we need is a chance to break away to a place of space, nature, and infinite possibilities. An opportunity to explore, to celebrate, to relax. Somewhere removed, yet within reach. Unplug, but remain connected. Detach from the norm and challenge your own. Embrace the spirit of adventure and find your new Montana tradition at Big Sky Resort.
Please welcome to the stage CEO of Boyne Resorts, Mr. Stephen Kircher.
That video got me choked up there, actually. Well, first off, welcome to Big Sky, our flagship resort in the Boyne Resort Collection. It's an honor to host this event. I think I've been on the board since I was probably 25 years old, which is 3 decades, I think, ago, and it's an honor to have this here. It's such an amazing organization, obviously being a Michiganian or Michigander, depending on how you want to put it. Ishpeming is, in our neighborhood, and it's just an honor, again, to be affiliated with this, to be a part of it. As you know, my father was an inductee a few decades ago, and there's so many friends in this organization and great people that have been mentors to me and to skiing in general. So we're on a long journey here. We came here in 1976 to Big Sky. Dad had a vision to move west. He fell in love with Sun Valley, which is one of the great places in North America skiing, and we've been on this journey for 47 years, and it's its 50th anniversary for Big Sky coming up, and we're at a midway point of a long journey of taking this place to something very special. So we're honored to share it with you and to be your host. So thank you very much.
How's everybody doing tonight? How about the snow here at Big Sky? You show up and we delivered, right? And there's snowing right now, more falling. Tomorrow morning is going to be great. Hi everybody, and welcome to Big Sky in the annual U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame Induction Dinner. I'm your host, Dan Egan, and wow, what a great winter it's been. All over the West, record snows. And I love that because we've been snow-starved. We've been waiting, and it happened. Here in Big Sky, it happened so early. We opened a week early here in Big Sky, and it was awesome. And whenever I see the snow falling, I'm reminded of U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Famer Warren Miller and his insight that our goal as skiers and snowboarders is to make the mountain prettier. That we should leave our exclamation mark in the snow with our style, our turns, and the places we choose to ski. You know, I'll never forget when Warren Miller met my parents. He came up to my mother and he said, you know, your boys remind me that I'm never quite sure of how many lives I've ruined. And I think a lot of you can relate to that. A lot of you made that phone call to your parents that you might take one more winter off to ski. The first time I came here to Big Sky, I'll never forget it. It was in the late 1980s. We turned the corner, we headed up the mountain road, and there it was, Lone Peak. Lone Peak. From the moment you make the turn at the light, it's there. As you come up the road and you change the angle, it's there. It's the sort of peak that makes people wonder, what if? What would it be like? I've heard of the Big Couloir. Is the North Summit Snowfield open? What is it that they call Marx, Lenin, and the dictator chutes? And why? Lone Peak. When you look at it, you stare at it, and you wonder, what will it be like up there today? You know, Lone Peak and the Lone Mountain Tram, it's so special. And I'd like to take a moment tonight to bow our heads for John Kircher, who passed recently and had the vision for the Lone Mountain Tram. You know, when John put that tram in and didn't tell his dad that he had ordered the parts, that's a ski bum's mind. That's the ski bum's motivation. He built it small so he could go up there with his friends and hang out. And his spirit lives on up in that tram. And now with the 50th anniversary of Big Sky coming and a new tram right around the corner, what he envisioned and what it has become is so special, and we're all here because of that. Absolutely. Tonight is we're in a room full of people who have asked the question, what if? What if I redesigned a ski boot? What if I flew a hot air balloon to the summit of Mount Everest? What if I took skiing off of snow into the stages off of Broadway? What if I made backcountry skiing equipment better and safer and more accessible? What if I could make snow cheaper and more efficient? Tonight, we're honoring 9 people into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. Jan Reynolds, Herman Dupre, Peter Graves, Gwen Allard, Dave and Renie Gorsuch, Alan Schoenberger, Sven Coomer, Mike Hattrup, and Bode Miller. These 9 people will be enshrined in the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, located just a short 1,500 miles north of Detroit, Michigan, in Ishpeming on the UP. It's a short 6 to 7 hour drive. But when you go into town, there's a building that you're drawn to. And you cannot look away because the building, the roof is shaped like a ski jump. And out in front of that building is a big bronze statue of a ski jumper. Inside that building holds the dreams, the inventions, the aspirations, the Olympic medals, the World Championship medals of over 435 inductees into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. And of that group, only 133 are alive today. It's an elite, small group of people. And these 9 tonight are adding so much. And tonight we're going to hear the stories, the dreams, and how they answer the questions, what if? It's their night. It's our night. It's a great night because we are here for them. And they have done for us the unimaginable. They've left an impact, a legacy, and changed our generational sport. Because isn't skiing and snowboarding special? That it's so generational. Grandparents teaching great grandkids. Today, Chris Davenport skiing the big couloir with his son. How cool is that? It's a generational sport. When I buckle up my boots, I'm always reminded and I return to the place of my youth. A fun, joyful place. And I flash back to Boston, Massachusetts on a Saturday morning at 5:30 in the morning, and my dad loading up the family truckster with 8 Egan kids. And I'll never forget the day he forgot to close the ski rack as we went through the center of town and all the skis entered across the intersection. And as he was scrambling to pick those skis up, I'm sure in the back of his mind, he was thinking, he might just have a great day too. And isn't that what it takes to buckle up our kids' boots? To wake them up, get them in lift line? Because in the back of our minds, we're thinking, today could be the day. Today could be the day that we find the fresh powder snow in the woods, or there's no tram line. Today could be that day. The generational pull is big. If you're here tonight, there's a good chance you've wasted a lot of good, perfectly productive days skiing and snowboarding. Tonight is special because the people who are being inducted, they deserve it. And we're here to celebrate them. And on the tables tonight, there's a QR code. And if you could locate that QR code and those cards, and throughout the night, if you're so motivated, please scan that code and make a contribution to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. Because that building in Ishpeming, Michigan needs your love. And we appreciate everything and all that you do. And with no further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage the Executive Director of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, my good friend, Justin.
Hello, hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Always great comments. Thanks, everybody, for coming. You have an amazing night ahead of you. I hope everybody enjoys. We do have food service. That'll continue for a little while. We have a tradition that we like to do, which is to bring up all honored members and alumni of the Hall of Fame, those that were inducted previously to tonight, which we'll be doing in a minute. I'd be super pumped about explaining every aspect of the event to people in the room, but we're going to go right into 2 very important things that make this happen. The volunteers and the sponsors. Okay, so I want to give a good round of applause for my group of volunteers back here in the table. If you guys could stand up, we absolutely couldn't do it without you. We have a small staff. we somehow pull it off, and these people work tirelessly. They take time off of their work to come and help the Hall of Fame. It's their way of giving back. Everybody has that. Our sponsors, our title sponsors, Coca-Cola in the back room, and my boy Joe Crampton. Of course, the Gorsuch family, Peak Skis, Big Sky Resort, and on and on and on. When I looked at the sponsor list this year, I just went, whoa, who's not sponsoring us in the ski industry right now? The amount of people that come to the table to help us out to make this happen, we owe you a debt of gratitude. It's the most amazing thing, so thank you very much. Okay, and there they are. So we're going to do this. We have an intermission, and while we're doing that, we're going to bring up all the honor members before we start click-clacking and finishing dinner and really get the show started. What I'd like to do, please advance to the slide with the honored members that I knew were here. There's quite a few more. So what I'd like to do is have everybody stand up in the room that's here that's an honored member of the Hall of Fame. Alumni, please. And start making your way to the stage. Mr. Brian Fairbank, current board chairman, come on up. Miss Genya Fuller-Cruz, come on up. Mr. Bernie Weichsel, I see you. Come on up. Miss Barbara Allie Simon. Kristen Ulmer, come on up. We're going to do a photo when you guys get all up here. And then we're going to take our final dinner break until we get the show kicking. Who else do we got? Chris Davenport, my man. Mr. Bill Jensen. David Ingeme. Scott Schmidt's here. Hey, Scott. Mr. Tom Kelly. Joe J. Jalbert. Hey, Joe J. Susie Chaffee. All right, round of applause for the alumni on hand. We're going to get some photos. Yep. And everybody enjoy the rest of the food service. And of course, Dan Egan. All right, enjoy your dinner. We'll be back to programming shortly.
All right, here we go. What we're all here for. And we're coming right out of the gate with one of my favorites, Jan Reynolds. You with me, Alex? In the 1970s and 80s, Jan busted out of the University of Vermont, leaving an indelible mark on the adventure sports industry and so much more. She has skied from the highest peaks on the planet, and she did it in leather boots and 3-pin bindings. She's traversed the Southern Alps in New Zealand. She's a founding member of the U.S. biathlon team. She's floated in a hot air balloon to the summit of Everest. She's been featured in articles in the New York Times, National Geographic, and countless others. She's lived and written about the indigenous people on all 7 continents. When you read a headline about Jan Reynolds, it's unbelievable. She's a real-life superhero. One of the headlines I found reads like this. This is Jan Reynolds, who loves doing the things no woman has ever done. And yet there's still another one that says, is there anything she can't do? Because of Jan Reynolds, there is no glass ceiling. She made everything possible. She set the standard. And she did it all before social media and decades and even before videotape. She went viral before viral was a thing. She's one of the first sponsored athletes by the North Face. If you're like me and you're in the room tonight, and you've been lucky enough to be sponsored by a winter sports brand without an Olympic medal or a world championship title to your name, we stand on the shoulders of Jan Reynolds. Let's learn more about Jan.
Jan Reynolds earned widespread acclaim for her record-setting high-altitude adventures around the globe, for helping spark the first backcountry explosion on edged cross-country skis, and for pioneering corporate sponsorships as the first athlete to be signed by the North Face as a professional skier and adventurer. She accomplished this as the only woman in a pack of men. In 1984, Esquire named her its Athlete of the Decade, and Ultra Sport dubbed her Indiana Jan, being the first woman to ski from the summit of 24,757-foot Muscata Peak in the Pamirs, soaring and crashing in a hot air balloon at 29,000 feet over Everest for an award-winning film, and being the leader of the first U.S. women's biathlon team merely set the foundation for her life's work. Those experiences would coalesce into her ultimate calling as a globe-trotting, award-winning photographer and naturally gifted storyteller who has written 20 books. Reynolds was born April 30th, 1956, on a dairy farm in Middlebury, Vermont, the sixth of 7 children. At the University of Vermont, Reynolds excelled in 4 varsity sports and capped off her career by winning the final leg of the National Collegiate Cross-Country Ski Championships at the Trapp Family Lodge in Stowe, handing UVM the team title. On that same day, she was drawn into the world of global adventurer, future Hall of Famer Ned Gillette. Gillette, who was managing the Trapp Resort, agreed to hire her into what would be much more than a job, beginning a roughly decade-long companionship with Gillette that included the first freeheel ski and climb of the Southern Alps in New Zealand in 1979, a trek around Mount Everest, a journey as the first Westerners to ski and coach in Manchuria, and the friendship expedition to Pamirs, culminating with a high-altitude skiing record that stood for 8 years. In 1982, Reynolds and Gillette were named as the North Face's first professional athletes and were paid equally. Hundreds of outdoor companies soon followed, and the stage was set for thousands of future athletes to flourish with corporate backing. In 1990, Reynolds dedicated herself to shaping the future with a series of Vanishing Cultures books for children in documenting indigenous cultures on all 7 continents. She covers their day-to-day struggles and triumphs in an ever-changing and threatening world. For a career of barrier-breaking adventure and global humanity, Jan Reynolds earns induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Ooh, baby. Jan Reynolds, having been elected by representation of the 15 million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow upon you on this night in Big Sky, Montana, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor, and confer upon you from this day forward, Friday, March 24th of 2023, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where, baby, your accomplishments will forever be remembered.
everyone. It's great to be here. I have many people to thank, and I thank the whole Hall of Fame crew and for everyone being here tonight to make this super special. Now, who would have thought a Vermont dairy farm girl who was number 6 of 7 kids in a family that didn't ski and was so cross-eyed she looked at the end of her nose. Yes, I had amblyopia. They fixed it. Who would think I'd be here? So your passion can take you far. Skiing has literally taken me around the world. And when you think about it, people thought it was unusual to take Nordic skis with just a toe binding in the biggest mountains around the world. But when you think, really, skiing has been around for, they say, about 8,000 years. So the way I ski is the way skiing has been for almost all of time. When skis first came to the US, it was Snowshoe Thompson who would deliver the mail from Nevada to California. And he had a huge sack of mail, which I could relate to on expeditions. I carry about 50 pounds. And he would skin up one side of the Sierra and then drop into these beautiful big tellies on these long wooden skis. So basically, what skiing has always been was what I was doing, nothing new. Then, when we went out and we set some records, one of the most interesting things was I wasn't taking off to set a record. National Geographic sponsored us, and it wasn't until weeks later they called me and said, hey, you set the women's high-altitude skiing record, and the whole expedition has the highest descent from a summit. So it's really kind of interesting to think about that. What's most important to me is the wild places and the wild people that I spent time with and the wild times we had. And when we set a lot of these records, I got some attention, and it really wasn't about gender at all for me. I was interviewed once, well, oftentimes, they had me several times on the Today Show, Good Morning America, and I was interviewed by Jane Pauley. And before you come on, they give you your set of questions, so you kind of know what people are going to be asking you. So Jane Pauley and I had the questions. She's feeling really comfortable with me. She can see that I like to talk. So she leaves her script and she looks at me and she goes, so Jan, what do you think of the ERA? Well, Equal Rights Amendment, this is the 1980s. And ladies, think about this. It wasn't until 1990 that Congress passed the Women's Health Equity Act. So what that means is, until 1990, all medical trials were only done on men. They were the only ones. I mean, we have different bodies. I think you've noticed. So, during the 1980s, I'm with Jane Pauley, millions of people in the world are watching us, and she says, so Jan, what do you think of the ERA? And I look at her and I go, so Jane, what's that? So being the professional she is, her eyes are like saucers. I'm sure she's thinking, why did I ever leave this script? And she goes, she drops back and punts and she says, well, I guess that answers my question. And she went right back with the script. But that really is a good story to say that gender didn't come into play in these expeditions. We were all just equal teammates. And again, we were all doing it because of the wild places and the wild people we spent time with and the wild times that we had. And there is one thing that really did shift my point of view, and that was I was working for National Geographic again, and I was covering the ancient salt trade, and I was soloing over the Himalaya, and I had Sherpas that were with me up to about 20,000 feet. And I'm skiing down into Tibet, and I can hear the Sherpas behind me. I've gone maybe a quarter, half mile, but you can hear up in the mountains. And they're making this ruckus, and they're yelling, and they're screaming, and I figure it's about me. So I turn around and look, and then I could see these little people just gesticulating, and what was down there, I finally tuned in. I was having so much fun skiing down before the crevasse field, and it was the Chinese army. And they had these little canvas green army boots, and they had pistols, and I was on the biathlon team, so I knew the range of a rifle, and all I had to do was turn around and ski up, and there was no way they were gonna catch me. So that's exactly what I did, but it was hilarious. The the Sherpas were just beside themselves. But what that did was it shifted my attitude to wanting to spend time with these beautiful indigenous people that I met when I climbed and skied around the world. So I did write a book series called Vanishing Cultures, and I lived with the Tuareg in the Sahara. The men wear veils, not the women. I was with the Yanomama in the Amazon, the reindeer herders up north for Europe, the Inuit, the Yanomama in the Amazon. So skiing really has taken me around the world, and skiing gave me the gift of finding how I could serve, what I could do to give back. And also, so I'm grateful for that. I'm also so grateful you all came tonight to make this such a special night for me. And I'm sorry, it's a little emotional, but thank you very much.
Well, that's what you get on a night like tonight. You get the insight and the stories, and more importantly, the emotions. Pioneers are the spirit of the winter sports industry. People who are doers, visionaries, and dreamers. There's nothing like the old-timers tinkering around in the shop. You know the guys I'm talking about. The ones who fix the things that we don't know are broken. The ones that have the spare part hidden up on the shelf behind the jar. And unfortunately for us in the winter sports industry, they're a dying breed. We've replaced these people with computers that have backup systems, that don't react or respond to common sense or institutional knowledge with good old-fashioned wisdom. Herman Dupre is that man, making his own snowmaking system at the Seven Springs Resort in Pennsylvania, his snowmaking ponds, his revolutionary snowmaking guns, all not only anchored the success of Seven Springs, but they changed the entire industry with the formation of HKD snowmakers. And at the root of all this technology is basic science and the use of gravity and foundational thinking about how things flow together. None of us can survive in this industry without snowmaking. It's a vital, vital piece. From the southern resorts in the U.S. to here in the West in Montana, we rely on it. And thanks to companies like HKD, it's becoming more and more efficient. Now, Herman's wisdom runs so deep that they've come up with a deck of cards with 52 of his sayings on those cards. I want to share with you a few of my favorite. The Four of Hearts. That's a classic. At the end of the day, these mountains will still be here, and they don't give a shit about our problems. The Ace of Spades. Never leave a good time looking for a good time. And the Eight of Spades. When estimating the answer, always use the swag method. Scientific, wild-ass guess. But like most things, it takes grit and moxie to develop game-changing technology that sometimes we take for granted. Let's learn how a son of an immigrant and a simple farmer from Pennsylvania accomplished all of this.
The son of Bavarian immigrants, Herman Dupre built Pennsylvania's Seven Springs into a powerhouse resort and blanketed the world's slopes with his innovative HKD snowmaking technology. If you're a mid-Atlantic skier, you've probably heard of Dupre and the legacy of his Seven Springs Resort, the ski area founded some 75 years ago in Wooded Hills, an hour's drive from Pittsburgh. But wherever you're from, it's almost certain that you've enjoyed making turns on the smooth surface provided by Dupre's HKD snowmaking systems, which are in play at an estimated 750 resorts around the world. Dupre was a master tinkerer who showed up every day in jeans, work boots, and a flannel shirt to elevate the Seven Springs experience and to lead HKD in delivering an economical, efficient, and environmentally sensitive man-made snow surface. When he took over Seven Springs in 1955, he transformed it from a small private hunting and fishing club into a full-blown 5,000-acre, four-season resort dedicated to Seven Springs, to snowmaking, to nature, and to his family. Including his wife and 9 daughters, Dupre began every day by asking his staff and guests, how can we do things better around here? Dupre was born in 1932 at Legionnaire, Pennsylvania, the son of Bavarian immigrants, and began his education in a one-room schoolhouse. Always looking to bolster Seven Springs' 135 inches of natural snowfall, Dupre began tinkering with snowmaking in the late 1960s and never stopped. With a chemistry degree from St. Vincent College in Latrobe, his first humble efforts involved garden hoses, golf course sprinklers, and a compressor he'd found in a salvage yard. In 1991, he launched the game-changing Tower Snow Gun, and the company that was eventually called HKD was born. The 30-foot HKD Tower was the first gun to mix air and water externally, producing dramatic savings on the power bill. Herman partnered with daughter Annie and her husband Charles Santry to launch the company, which today employs 70 people, plus several international distributors. Santry is HKD's president, while Annie is the vice president of finance. The modern ski resort business would not exist today without snowmaking, and HKD is in play at many of the country's premier resorts from coast to coast. Herman Dupre passed away in 2020, leaving his wife Mary, 9 daughters, and 29 grandchildren. For his Seven Springs success and unprecedented innovations in snowmaking, Herman Kress Dupre earns induction in the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
And I understand that, Denise, you will be speaking? So I will address this oath to you. Denise Dupre, in memory of your father, Herman Kress Dupre, having been elected by representation of the 15 million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow upon you, in his honor, in Big Sky, Montana, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor, and confer upon you from this day forward, Friday, March 24th, 2023, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where your father's accomplishments will forever be remembered.
Firstly, you can tell by this lineup that our parents accomplished a lot together. to be part of this incredible group of people that care so much about skiing and the snow world. And you can see that the accomplishments of our dad go way back to our childhood. My mom has some remarks that she wanted me to share with you this evening. But first she said, remind everybody that no one on this stage grew up reading comic books. Our monthly book of the month was the issue of Compressed Air magazine. And I'm not joking. Our dad read it cover to cover, and all of us learned how to nozzle at the kitchen table, and we also got the great gift of skiing, which for our family now is 5 generations of American ski family, including my 8 sisters, our 29 collective children, 2 great-grandchildren, who are all skiers. So we're very excited about that. So from my mom, who wanted me to share these remarks with you, we're so happy to be here in beautiful Montana with the 9 of us to celebrate Herman's life and his contributions to the ski industry. He was often quoted as saying, there are 2 people in life you don't mess with, Mother Nature and Father Time. He was Mother Nature's partner for all of his snowmaking adventures. And we used to say our dad was green before his time, before it meant anything, and in part because he was working with very little funds to compete with areas in New England who had a lot more snow and in the West who had a lot more snow. And with no formal training, he tinkered in what we called Santa's Workshop, another place you could go to learn a lot about the basics of science to accomplish all that he did for the ski industry. Father Time took him too early. But, and in his life philosophy, you always tried to leave the world a better place than you found it. And we know he did that in what he instilled in all of us. And we get up every day and think about how we can do that and try to pass that same legacy onto our kids and their kids. So we miss him so very much, but he would be really happy with this evening. He loves steak for dinner, so thank you for adding that to the menu. And from my mom, Sister Dupre 2023, our heartfelt thanks from our whole family for this extraordinary honor for our dad.
Tonight, it's all about being a fan of the sport, a fan of winter, a fan of snow. And like every other sports fan, fans, we love stadiums. When you enter into a stadium, your senses are saturated with cheering fans, the smell of food, and the setting. Ski stadiums are extra special because of the natural landscape and the beauty of mountains. The finish of a ski race, the stadium of a Nordic ski championship. When you walk to these locations, you're instantly struck by the grandeur of the place. And then you hear it. The booming voice of the announcer. And you know, this is my place. This is my sport. These are my heroes here today. And that iconic voice welcomes you, educates you, motivates you, and inspires you. It's the magic sauce to the entire event. Baseball has Vince Scully. Monday Night Football has the likes of Howard Cosell. In basketball, you think of Dick Stockton. And in winter, Year in and year out, Peter Graves have been the sport of the Olympics, World Championships, FIS races in multiple sports around the world. His dedication to the tidbits and factoids of the athletes brings everything to life. He builds suspense. He builds drama. When I hear his voice, I instantly stand to my feet and focus in on the moment and think of what could happen today in front of my eyes. When you hear Peter's voice, you get the oh-ha moment. He's made me cheer for the underdog, the champion, and shed a tear for the agony of defeat. Let's learn about the man who has commentated and called on some of the greatest moments of our sport, Peter Graves.
As the voice of skiing, Peter Graves has delivered insight, drama, and color on the world's biggest stages since 1977. Through more than 4 decades and hundreds of Olympic, World Cup, and World Championship events, Graves' inimitable voice has become synonymous with the sport.
The Olympic Games were held in Asia, 1972.
From calling the closest cross-country ski race in Olympic history at the 1980 Olympics on ABC, to serving as the stadium announcer at the dramatic post-9/11 opening ceremony at the Salt Lake City Olympics, Graves has provided the soundtrack for many of the biggest moments in sport, including 9 Olympics.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Peter Graves. Happy to be with you. And with us
I
today
loved every moment of it, he says. Besides his grounding as a TV sportscaster and stadium announcer for a wide range of sports, Graves also served as a U.S. cross-country ski team coach and led the Harvard Nordic ski team from 2002 to 2008. He also owned and managed a cross-country ski travel company, directed cross-country events for Special Olympics, and served as the Nordic editor for ski racing and ski tracks. Born in 1952 at Bennington, Vermont, Graves earned a spot on the Eastern Junior National Nordic team. He attended Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado, where he competed for 4 years on the cross-country squad. Graves planned to work his way up into a mainstream media market, but instead returned to his first love, skiing. Graves' stadium career began in 1977 when he called the internationally acclaimed American Birkebeiner cross-country ski race at Telemark in northern Wisconsin, a post he held for several decades. Graves covered the 1984 and 1988 Olympics for ESPN's SportsCenter and was the primary television announcer for the U.S. ski team from 1986 to 1990. Segueing into stadium announcing, Graves learned to build a rapport with on-site fans and had a strategy for covering a lengthy list of competitors. He diligently follows a pre-race routine, plenty of Ricola and water, humming the scales for a vocal warm-up and meditating on the goals for the day. Anyone who's attended World Cups in Vail, Beaver Creek, Aspen, or Killington has heard his voice, and the same goes for various venues at the 2002, 2010, 2014, and 2018 Olympic Winter Games. Outside of skiing, Graves has been active in a wide range of sports and has called thousands of events in total. Today he lives in East Thetford, Vermont, just above Hanover, New Hampshire. He has 2 children, Willie, who competed on the U.S. Nordic combined team, and Katie, who raced for the Putney School, and 1 grandchild. For spending 4 decades dramatically chronicling many of the biggest moments in the sport, Peter Graves earns induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Peter Graves Having been elected by representation of the 15 million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow upon you this night in Big Sky, Montana, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor. And confer upon you from this day forward, Friday, March 24th, 2023, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where, sir, your accomplishments will forever be remembered.
Good evening, and thank you, ski friends. It's indeed an honor to be here tonight. I sport a new look a little bit. In the last couple of years, neuropathy has set in my feet. So while I've hung up the skis, I haven't hung up the cane. And my mind is clear, and my spirit and heart still soar with ski racing and the world of sport and with all of you. So I'm going to set this down. What a night. Thank you. I'm, of course, like all of inductees here, deeply humbled by this award. I only wish my parents were alive to witness this moment. This is not intended as false modesty, but I never dreamed that the day would occur, nor did I ever ponder it, that I would be up here talking to you and receiving this award. And particularly to my fellow inductees who blow me away with their vast array of talents. I really congratulate you so much, and I'm proud to be with you. Thank you for the honor, and this is going to be a common theme tonight, but it could not be achieved, any of it, without the loving support of my family, my children, Willie, who was a member of the U.S. Nordic Combined team with me, my daughter Kate. No one can achieve this alone. I wanted to thank especially a few individuals for their rock-solid support. Some of their names you will know, some perhaps not, for their inspiration. For my longest friend, Robin Outwater, who grew down the street with me in Bennington, Vermont, and our mothers pushed each other together in strollers. I thank you so much for Rob for being my closest friend, trusted advisor, always being there for me. And without you, Robin, as I was chasing you around Prospect Mountain in Woodford, Vermont, I never would have been the skier that I was. You made me better. And I thank you for that, Robin, so very, very much. My longtime friend and trusted advisor, Tom Kelly, for his friendship and mentorship, for his advice to always help me stay current in things like technology. I'm more used to 2 cans and a string. And I came rather kicking into the computer age. Tom helped me stay current. He was a loyal friend, and I thank you, Tom. For both Robin and Tom and my children, I say to you in the words of a wise poet, I am not who I was. I am not going to be who I was going to be. You changed all that, and I love you all for it. I stand here tonight before you. I sometimes have to ask myself, and it's been a particular theme the last couple weeks, I've become kind of weepy about this. Kind of surprising to me. I don't always cry that easily. But the profound nature of this has been really, really powerful. As I stand here before you tonight, I wonder how a kid from small town Vermont who began skiing on a rope tow at Prospect Mountain in Woodford, how he developed this passion and love of cross-country skiing and later television that changed the path of my life. I had some inspirational coaches, Bucky Broomhall, Berger Vigsness, and in college at Fort Lewis in Durango, the legendary Dolph Koos, whose son is doing very well in the Tour de France, incidentally, as well. I had the mentorship of Charlie Al Merrill at Dartmouth, who was all the mentor anybody could ever ask for. Al taught me how to ski, how to race, and the value of sportsmanship. To John Caldwell, JC, from Putney, Vermont, who was a mentor in all manner of things, who kindly let this little red-haired kid train with the U.S. cross-country ski team when they were in Vermont, let me take saunas with a group which were heavenly, and was an all-around mentor and a dear friend. Marty Hall, some of you know him, gave me an unbelievable amount of encouragement when I could provide none for myself. Marty kept my spirits high over the years, and I needed that because, quite candidly, I was never blessed, I don't think, with an overabundance of confidence. I'd be remiss not to mention Paul Robbins, who left us far too soon. A teacher of journalism, a former UPI bureau chief, a dear friend that I miss every day, and often when I get into a jam in this business, I ask myself, what would Paul do? To Gary Black, who helped inspire my journalistic chops, but also showing us how much we should enjoy this sport. For many of us, he gave us a singular message about the joys of sport, and I miss those times together. Similarly, I want to thank my friend who is in the room tonight, Joe J. Jalbert, for all the years of doing television together and for teaching the ropes and helped me learn more about sports television. Some of you remember the Irishman from Rutland, Vermont, Mike Gallagher, for teaching me all he knew about cross-country skiing, and freely so, and for teaching me about Irish songs and hot saunas and cold Vermont ponds. Others, too, like Rick LaCivita, an Emmy Award-winning producer, for teaching me as I got into the sport that the stories we tell on television are really all about sitting around the campfire. I had the opportunity to work with Tony Wise at Telemark Lodge, the founder of the Birkebeiner and the very first World Cup race we had in cross-country skiing, and that was a great experience. And to people like Bob Beatty and my friend Greg Lewis that I see here, they were brilliant ski racing announcers, and long ago, in a little dark TV room in Bennington, Vermont with my dad, especially on ABC Sports, these were people that took not only you and me, not only to the Hahnenkamm, but to the pastry shops of Innsbruck, to the culture of the sport, to the heart of the sport. And I thank you for that so much. And the teaching, yeah. And the teaching you did me at Copper Peak and ski jumping was always a pleasure. It was, in fact, a brilliant kind of long-form storytelling that these people engaged in that were my inspirations, something that is dangerously lacking, in my opinion, from sports television now. TV has so much power to educate, to inspire people, and to see people dream big dreams because they saw it on the tube. I hope, and it would be one of my great wishes, that doing the work that I love to help inspire young people to dream big dreams. These people and others too taught me the valuable lessons of not giving up when the wax was bad or it was too cold. They taught me how to give my best effort with the best in sportsmanship. My coaches and mentors were old school, baby. And they taught me the value of no whining. And as the late, great John Wooden said, happiness begins where selfishness ends. Wise advice. My journey included some very special moments in sports television, like calling the closest cross-country race in the history of the sport. Lake Placid, 1980, I was with Bill Fleming. The 15K, Thomas Vosberg from Sweden against the giant Johan Mieto. Amazing race on ABC, separated by the blink of an eye, 1/100th of a second. And after that, the FIS said, that's simply too close. That's the blink of an eye. We'll now time to the 10th of a second. I was the PA announcer at opening and closing ceremonies at Salt Lake City. An opportunity and an honor despite my fear of making a mistake. Came through just fine. Let's see. Is it Bosnia or Bosnia-Herzegovina? You can't make a mistake there. You're live to the world. And I conquered a fear that was pretty powerful. I've witnessed many races around the world. Bode Miller, who was here tonight, Darren Rolves, who at Beaver Creek simply defied gravity and physics, and who were among the greats. And I got to call a lot of those races over the last 30 years with my longtime friend and PA announcer, Doug Lewis. Other events like calling Michaela at Sochi, her gold medal, so young, the youngest slalom winner in history. And really, those are just the top of the iceberg. I enjoyed the years I had when I coached the U.S. ski team, worked for USSA, coached the Harvard Nordic team, and later Special Olympics. I am the only child of two wonderful parents, Van and Ella Graves. They gave me the gift of growing up on skis. And more importantly, besides seconds and tenths of seconds, I saw the joys of fresh snow and the beauty of trees draped in white, and they are moments now that I treasure more than ever. They started a fire in me that lasts to this day. My father was a country lawyer, but who was rather forced into law by his state's attorney, Father Collins. It was not my father's first choice of a profession. And as I came of age, the thing I remember so most of all was do what you love. And he did everything to support that. And it has turned out pretty well. And I admire both of my parents for that. I found in a simple pair of wooden skis and with John Caldwell's seminal read, which is now dog-eared and barely readable, the cross-country ski book, which I read countless times. It was in skiing I took refuge. It brought me tremendous satisfaction and friendships. And I was thinking that this journey, as all of you know, is never really linear. And time's not easy, especially in the competitive world of sports television. I love the sport as you do. And when once told by a producer that I needed to be tougher and more critical of the American skiers, I simply replied, maybe I'm not your guy. And it turned out, just a few weeks later, I wasn't. It actually surprised me that I dared to utter those words. But in my work, I tried to honor the athletes, give them the benefit of the doubt, and that includes not only the U.S. or Canada, but all nations. At 70, and now closer to the end than the beginning, I now realize the choices I made shaped me. I leave you with one of my favorite poets, of course, the Vermonter Robert Frost, who penned many years ago what I chose, my path in life and the road less taken. And that has made the difference for me. And so thusly here it is. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And being one traveler long I stood. I looked down on as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for the passing there, had worn them really about the same. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Who are we going to be? We are going to be whom we never thought we would be without each other. My announcing career, now 50 years young, has brought me to 13 Olympic Games now, something I truly never imagined. But I could never have been here without the support, the encouragement that I received from others. They helped me be understood. They helped support my message of joy in ski competition and to trying to use my voice to help the sport grow and to honor the great performances of athletes and coaches around the world. And most of all, they gave me acceptance and, yes, love. Tell people you love them tonight. To all the people like me who grew up in the small mountain towns and dared to dream that you can be and do whatever your heart desires, even end up in this Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. God bless you. I love you all. Thank you.
Our next inductee, Gwen Allard. You know, in today's revolution in the areas of diversity and inclusion, these changes are great. However, they would not be possible without the pioneers who have paved the way decades before. Of all of the many accomplishments we'll hear about tonight, Gwen Allard's deep, lasting legacy in the world of adaptive sports. There is no bigger visionary than Gwen Allard. Her impact is monumental because she touched the soul of the adaptive sports world and brought freedom found in skiing to the people that may have missed it because of their disabilities. Sit back, if you would, for a moment and saturate yourself in this thought. Here in Big Sky, we had a blind skier ski the Big Couloir, and it was featured on 60 Minutes. We've had sit skiers ski the Big and our other countless steeps around this resort. Vasu Santra from Bozeman on one leg climbed and skied Denali 2 years ago. Amazing. He's the first adaptive athlete for the North Face. Here in Big Sky, our local program, Eagle Mount, and the countless other local adaptive programs around the country change lives in the ways that we can't even imagine, because it's not a physical thing. It's a mental and spiritual change in perspective of freedom found in skiing. Of all the accomplishments of Gwen Allard, from the PSIA standards of teaching, accessibility to the lifts in the mountains, to the equipment, to how we teach, bring more about Gwen.
Welcome, Mom, or Gums, or
whatever.
Gwen. Yes, your actual given name, Gwen. It is the middle of February on 2023, and we are here to celebrate you being voted into the Skiing Hall of Fame. It is a tremendous honor, and I think very worthy. And you have skied for 80 plus years, which is a tremendous amount of time for someone to ski.
Just time.
A lot of miles and helping thousands and thousands of people learn to enjoy snow sports. And I'm just wondering, on an occasion like this, how do you feel?
Besides old.
That's fair.
Is that fair? Yeah, I feel very old. It's gone very quickly.
Mm.
And I'll say this right up front. I wouldn't change one day of it. I haven't met anybody I haven't liked. I haven't met anybody who has failed. They have all given their all, the best that they could, and have been happy with their success and be able to ski. That's, they told me, I've always dreamt of this.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry it's basically stopped. I mean, the old body's given up.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I've got those memories and they do too.
Yes.
There's no reason why people with disabilities who have had to work so hard to succeed, and they may not have gone to the top, but that's okay. They've gone down a ski hill and they have succeeded and they're happy. And I'm happy for them. They've tried so hard. They have heard no so much. No, you can't do that. And no, don't try.
And who changed their mind about that?
Oh, there was a loudmouth lady that told them, come on, you can do it. Don't get me that way. There's no such thing as no. And they can. They can.
To have Rob here. Rob Bevere, in honor of your mother, I'm going to call her the freedom fighter. Gwen Allard, having been elected by representation of the 15 million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow upon you on this night in Big Sky, Montana, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor, and confer upon you in her honor from this day forward, Friday, March 24th, 2023, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame where you can bet her accomplishments will forever be remembered. A medal. You got it. All right.
Thank you and good evening. Can't tell you what a tremendous honor it is to stand up here and accept this award from Mom. She really wanted to be here more than anything, but unfortunately her health made it so she couldn't. So sorry you're stuck with me trying to pinch hit for her. I just hope I can do her some justice. When being asked to do this speech, I tried to come to the essence of Gwen. What made Mom, Mom? And it dawned on me one day, it was a conversation that I had with her many years ago. It was in June, July, something like that. We're in the kitchen, and I was doing some math homework, summer work. I was a guy that needed summer math help. I wasn't really good at it. And at about 9 or 10 years old and getting pretty frustrated, I stood up and in my best outdoor voice, I yelled, "Mom, I just can't do this. This is stupid homework." Well, the ensuing conversation is one that can only be appreciated between a parent and a child later in life. What I did get out of the conversation was that the term, "I can't do it," she wouldn't accept. She would accept, "Sorry, I'm not ready for that. Sorry, I'm not prepared. Sorry, I don't have the skills. But I can't." Not in her vocabulary. I promptly told Mom, "Well, Mom, you know what? I'm not in the headspace right now to do my math homework." I lost that argument too. So when I look at her career through this lens, things start to make sense. As a young child, her mom told her, "Gwenny, little girls don't ski." Well, she had a dad that was an outdoor adventurer and a skier. She did. Later, when working at the Schenectady Ski School, she had friends that told her, "You know, Gwen, you shouldn't teach skiing. All you're gonna do is gonna get stuck with the kids and babysit, and the adults will be out with the guys." Well, she found her mentor in Freddie Anderson, and she did. She excelled at teaching adults. Later, in a small resort, well, I wouldn't even call it a resort, I'd call it a mountain, Round Top in Vermont, place I learned to ski and love. Her ski school director told her, "Gwen, you shouldn't try and get certified. Women don't get certified. It's too difficult. You don't have the stamina. You don't understand the physics." But she did. Then a few years after that, she applied to be the executive director of the Eastern Division of PSIA. And again, she was told, "Gwen, you know, that's just a good old boys club. You don't want to get involved with that. They won't respect you. They won't listen to you." Well, I can tell you that they suffered the wrath of Gwen for many years. And there are still programs that she started 20, 30 years ago that are going strong today. A few years later, she was told that veterans coming home from war and people with special needs didn't necessarily need access to buildings. It wasn't that big of a deal. Yet she had her hand in the ADA. Interesting fact about Mom. The entire time she was working on this career in raising 2 kids, and we weren't easy kids to raise, she had a bit of a side hustle. She was teaching on the weekends people with special needs how to ski. She was told again, it wouldn't work. People with special needs, they can stay in institutions. People that are missing legs and limbs from war, the government would take care of it. She proved them wrong. She's taught thousands and thousands of people with special needs and able-bodied people how to ski, and trained thousands of people how to teach new students and carry on her legacy. She's changed the world of teaching, adaptive, and our sport in essence. Just a few programs that she's been part of or started include Gore Mountain in New York, Ski Wyndham, and the Adaptive Sports Foundation in New York again, and the latest, the Double H Hole in the Woods in Lake George, New York. Her fingerprint is on almost every adaptive program in the country. So Gwen's retired, or said she's retiring, more times than I can count. It's to the point now that every time she announces, I'm retiring from such and such a program, my brother and I look at each other and go, again, in unison. We're getting used to it. When Mom found out she was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, she was over the top excited. This has been a dream of hers forever. Then came the honest assessment of her physical abilities. The entire family pitched in and tried to figure out how to get her here. And she, in the end, made the decision that it was best that she not come. However, in typical Gwen fashion, she made it. So, in closing, from the larger adaptive community, my family, and my mom, thank you.
Such a beautiful night to hear all that stories and, of course, the emotion. And if you haven't taken the time to get involved with adaptive sports, please do. There's great programs all around the country. You know, many of us athletes, we always have to eventually ask the question, is there life after ski racing? And for Renie and Dave Gorsuch, they found that by building a retail brand that would become known for excellence with associations of the top brands around the world. If you shop at Gorsuch in Vail, Aspen, Beaver Creek, or Park City, you're not only in some of the most desired ski locations in the world, you're at Gorsuch, a store that embraces the mountain lifestyle and all that goes along with it. In the days of digital catalogs and many brick and mortar stores are suffering, theirs has not been on decline. They've mastered not only the retail side, but the online side as well, with a major footprint. As you saw in the fashion show today, out in front of the Summit Hotel, what we wear says a lot about how and where we ski. I still miss my one-piece day-glow suits in the days of big hair and headbands. But if you like vintage sweaters, stretch pants, a touch of day-glow, fur collars, their brands from Jet Set to Bogner and beyond are timeless and tested. They were married for 60 years. They started their first ski shop in an old gas station in Gunnison, Colorado, while Dave was still going to school at Western State. Once they made Vail their home, they became known for their down-home, hard work ethic. They've mentored so many people who have come through the stores as employees. And their legacy is friends, family, and community. Let's learn a bit more.
Fusing the Alps and Rockies to create a unique style, Olympians Dave and Renie Gorsuch built Gorsuch Limited into a globally acclaimed retail empire based on mountain elegance Any skier or rider who's visited the flagship Gorsuch store in the Clock Tower building on Bridge Street in Vail, or who has received the Gorsuch catalog in the mail, knows this iconic mountain lifestyle retailer truly offers an experience like no other. Gorsuch delivers the expected expertise and service in hard goods, backed by an extraordinary collection of premier luxury apparel. It then overwhelms the senses with a glittering array of antiques, furnishings, fine china, silver, and collectibles. The founders came from humble roots. Dave grew up in hardscrabble and now defunct Climax, Colorado. Located at over 11,000 feet near the summit of Fremont Pass, halfway between Copper Mountain and the town of Leadville. Meanwhile, out east in the Adirondacks, Renie Cox was tearing up the slopes at Tiny Snow Ridge, vertical drop 500 feet in upstate New York. Dave and Renie met at the 1954 Junior Nationals in Jackson Hole, fell in love, competed in the 1960 Olympic at what is now known as Palisades Tahoe, and then married. Their first shop was in an abandoned gas station in Gunnison with an apartment above. Thus began the quest for quality that would establish Gorsuch as a globally venerated retail brand, a business that would regularly achieve $50 million in annual sales. Dave and Renie opened the flagship Vail store in 1966 and soon became the first U.S. retailers to make regular buying trips to Europe. Gorsuch was named the Ski Retailer of the Year in 1969 and again in 2003 by the industry trade group SIA. In 1976, they started their signature catalog, which reached a circulation of 3.5 million. And showcases the best in fashion, models, locations, and photography. The flagship Vail operation spread to 10 more storefronts, including Park City, Beaver Creek, Snowmass, and in the Little Nell Hotel at the base of Aspen Mountain. It also drew the Gorsuch sons, John, Jeff, and Davey, to play significant roles in the business. Gorsuch backed racing in the Vail Valley and beyond from the beginning, donating equipment for thousands of kids to take up the sport around the U.S. Dave passed in 2021, but Renie can still be found on the floor of the Clock Tower store and elsewhere, always keeping tabs on the family business. For Gorsuch Limited's global impact on mountain style and its support of the communities where it operates, Dave and Renie Gorsuch earn induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Renie Gorsuch, having been elected by representation of the 15 million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow upon you and in David's honor, your husband of 61 years? On this night in Big Sky, Montana, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor, and confer upon you from this day forward, Friday, March 23rd, 2023, induction to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where your accomplishments, you and David, will forever be remembered. Okay. I think Peter Graves said it best. What a night.
Here we go.
Anything I've ever done before, I always did with David.
and went into the Business Hall of Fame and the Colorado Ski Hall of Fame. And I brought a picture of him here tonight, right here. We're on vacation in Paris with John and Todd. Okay, here I go. Thank you, first of all. I am filled with joy tonight, being here with you, all of you. Look at the people in this room. So many friends. What a gift our life in skiing has been. What an honor to be here tonight. My fabulous husband, David, who passed away in June of 1921, is here too. And you know, David and I are being inducted into the Hall of Fame together. And of course, our family is here. We have a large family. We built a family and we built a business. David and I had a fabulous life together. The story of two skiers, one born to the deep powder of Colorado and the other to the wind-swept slopes of New England and the Adirondacks. The story of our life is the story of love, the sport of skiing and our family, our business family, our ski industry family, and our Olympic family. It began with our love for the sport of skiing. At 15, we were among the medal winners at the 1954 Junior Nationals in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. This moved us up the ladder to wonderful years of competition, skiing, training, and on to the Olympics. As members of the 1960 Olympic team, these two skiers traveled the world, fell in love, and married. It's hard for me to look in this direction. We started a family and a very small ski shop. Our life together began in Paradise, an abandoned gas station in romantic Gunnison, Colorado, a place so cold, so very cold that February lost 2 days to frostbite there. Through work, toil, and commitment and vision, we converted a dilapidated standard station into a ski shop with barn board, burlap, and David's ability to hammer and pound a nail. Goodbye carburetors and hello cable bindings. Crested Butte's Fred Rice enticed David to become the mountain manager. I ran the two stores, one a little college store, and every Friday we took the merchandise up to Crested Butte and opened Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And Sunday we brought it back to the college store. I ran the two stores and fit the boots. David worked 7 days a week as the manager of Crested Butte, which he loved. At night, he mounted the skis and we delivered them in our truck. And we had two very small children. If you want to fuel your dreams, start your business in an abandoned gas station. If you want to learn about a man's character, listen to those who know how he works and the way he loved his wife. He was one grand man. Charlie Webb said to me once, I always called David my boyfriend. He always said, that was one grand man, your boyfriend. As we left Crested Butte, we had the opportunity to open a store in Vail in 1966, 4 years after it first opened. Had 1 gondola, 2 chairlifts, 8 ski instructors, and 9 runs. The opportunity was irresistible. We figured in a few years, Vail might be twice that big. We underestimated. Our friends from the ski industry always became part of our family. We grew up in the ski industry. We learned about business together, David and I. We were young entrepreneurs, never losing the love for our sport. We were energetic, full of dreams, waiting to embrace the world. We wanted to turn the key on something that we could be proud of. David was always the cornerstone of our business and of our family. As we look back, our skiing years and our experiences, the mountains, the resorts, the people, the towns that we belong to, have influenced what our life and our business has become. We're not still here today because of any brilliance. We simply showed up, worked hard, love what we do, and we surrounded ourselves with really great people. We made every mistake you could make. But because of our racing background, we always picked ourselves up, brushed off the snow, gathered our gear, and tried a new line. I think part of our success came from treating people as family, whether it was the salesman who walked in the door, the owner of the company, or our customer. We loved family, but family isn't only those who carry our name. Family is everyone who has worked with Gorsuch over the past 60 years. Salespeople, ski tuners, warehouse staff, truck drivers, and baristas. Family means every child we gave the equipment to for many winters, so they could experience the joy of skiing without the financial burden to their family. And our family was bigger still. It included everyone who entered a Gorsuch store. To simply wander in, to look around and say hello, to make a purchase, and those who step inside to take shelter from the cold. How am I doing? Today, 6 decades later, there are Gorsuch stores in Beaver Creek and Aspen, Snowmass Park City, and the Gorsuch catalog reaches many people around the world, many times a year. Our catalog consultant is sitting here tonight. I always say he's dragged us a long way, and is complemented by a global presence online. We have traveled the world to bring the merchandise to our customers and to our stores. All of this was beyond David and my imagination. How did this happen? John, Jeff, and Davy. We are so proud of our sons. They grew up in our home and in our business. They brought their new ideas to fruition. Park City, ski cafes, first in Aspen, then Vail right on Bridge Street. A commercial lot in Big Sky, looking to the future. They conduct themselves with their own infectious smiles, welcoming, greeting, always willing to meet, listen, and to share advice and ideas with our industry friends and partners. Thank you, John, Jeff, and Davy. Thank you, everyone here. You have graciously made this honor possible. David, honey, I know I'll see you later. The kids send their love, and everyone here says hi and congratulations. Hard to believe it all started in an abandoned gas station. Thank you. Thank you.
Before we get going into the last phase here, I do want to thank and, of course, introduce Frida Warner. Thank you, Frida, for doing all that you do for the hall, and thank you for everything you're doing tonight. We doing good, Alex? We're in for a treat. In the days of freestyle skiing, ballet captured the attention of a national crowd. It was featured on CBS, ABC, and of course, the wild world of sports. Athletes were dancing, twisting, flipping, and floating down the slopes to rock and roll music and classical music. It ignited the imagination of a generation. It was stretching our sports beyond the boundaries of ski racing and hitting into the theatrics and hitting the drum of emotion, expressed by the performers with long ski poles and short skis, dressed in costumes. And out of that emerged a young, shy artist, schooled in the art of dance, mime, and circus acts. Alan Schoenberger saw something different. He saw more than a competition and the crowds. He saw a blank canvas, an empty stage, and changed the sport and the game when he appeared in costume, painted face, and a story put to music wrapped in performance with the artist's flair never seen before. Then he expanded the reach of skiing beyond the mountains, and he ventured out into the great stages in the major cities across the country at ski shows and beyond, all the way to New York City, where Alan had his own show off of Broadway. He expanded the reach and hit the emotion to non-skiers all throughout the world. And he did it while he danced on a moving carpet, on bicycles, dancing on skis, juggling, and so much more. It was a unique story. It was your story. He was doing amazing feats. He was an underdog on the stage, accomplishing great things. And don't we all relate to that on skis? When we ski the run, we didn't dream we could ski. Or we dropped into the powder that's going to be out there tomorrow morning. That's what Alan brought to the stages of the world. He's not only an amazing athlete, artist, and passionate. I'm proud to call him my friend. Let's learn more about Alan.
Mixing skis, dance, and technique, Alan Schoenberger defined ballet as a world freestyle champion. Then he innovated indoors for 4+ decades as an unrivaled performer, educator, and coach. Schoenberger's pathway to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame outdoors as a freestyle champion, then indoors as a matchless stage performer, instructor, educator, and coach, was shaped first and foremost by his parents. He inherited a love of dance and the arts from his mother, Eunice, a school teacher and dance aficionado. Meanwhile, his father, Francis, an accomplished skier, gymnast, figure skater, and yes, barrel jumper, constantly led him to break barriers. As a young skier, gymnast, and ski instructor, The idea of merging dance with skiing was always in the back of Schoenberger's mind. He found his stage on the then just emerging international freestyle circuit. With his mime character puppet and highly choreographed performances set to Bach rather than rock and roll, Schoenberger transformed ballet and defined the discipline for 3 seasons. Another chance to perform and to set the course for future endeavors came in 1975 when Schoenberger was hired by Harry Leonard and Jerry Simon to ski and dance on an early primitive revolving carpet on the booming National Ski Show circuit. That would lead to an astounding 1,250 live performances for the madcap, poignant show he would develop. It was complete with juggling and circus hijinks, reaching thousands in more than 100 locations. Schoenberger created a genre in which he is the sole and inspired practitioner, a comet glittering across the night sky of the imagination, Snow Country magazine observed. Ultimately settling in Park City, Schoenberger continued his ski teaching evolution, partnering with fellow Hall of Famer Ellen Post Foster in publishing a half-dozen books and videos. He established Ski Studio Park City to further merge his original training methods with the ever-evolving ski simulator. His clients include a who's who of racing talent, including World Cup winner Steve Nyman, but he most enjoys working with young, developing athletes. In 2013, Schoenberger was inducted into the Intermountain Ski Hall of Fame, the first person since his idol Alf Engen to qualify in 4 of the 5 categories: as a ski pioneer, ski sport innovator, competitive skier, and inspirational skier. For his role as a freestyle champion and then as an unrivaled innovator in indoor skiing performance and instruction, Alan Schoenberger earns induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Schoenberger, having been elected by representation of the 15 million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow upon you on this night in Big Sky, Montana, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor, and confer upon you from this day forward, Friday, March 24th, 2023, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where, sir, your accomplishments will forever be remembered.
not too used to one of these. I was born in Denver, Colorado, at a very young age. I grew up as an experiment. My parents met skiing at a very tiny resort west of Denver called Hideaway Park, which is now Winter Park, right? My mother had just taken the train up from Denver through the Moffett Tunnel to Hideaway Park. My father, who was skiing with his 10th Mountain Division buddies, was eating breakfast at I forgot the name of the inn. This inn where my mother met him and they made a date. So he went out with his 10th Mountain Division buddies while my mother went out onto the beginner's slope to learn how to ski with my future godmother, Irene Brownie. But here's the thing. In those days, the trains from Denver to Hideaway Park were steam driven. So when the trains would punch out of the Moffett Tunnel, all the soot from the coal-driven boilers would cover the slope. So by lunch, my mother was totally black. This is a true story. But they ended up getting married anyway, despite that. My mother was a gym teacher. My father, a pilot who just returned from World War II, the Great Generation. And they hit it off pretty good. My father would tell me this story that in our little tiny home in Denver, I'd go out into the front yard where it was covered with snow, and I'd sit there and look to what I later found out was the west. And I'd look at these things, these big, gigantic, really big things that came out of the earth. And as my father tells the story to me, it was the great Jurassic snowshoe rabbit that had passed away to the west of Denver. And so those things that were coming out of the earth were the teeth of this great Jurassic snowshoe rabbit. So one day he plops me in the front seat of our 1949 Plymouth Coupe, and off toward the teeth we go, up into the teeth. And then near the top we stop, and I get out with his help. And he put these little sticks on my feet that had, they were kind of turned up on the end. And then he would push me. He would push me along this field. But then I discovered that he was no longer there, and that I was gliding on my own down this gentle little path. It was so beautiful, and I discovered the true magic of skiing. So my mother had this amazing experience when she was in college with Martha Graham dance. And what she took away from this experience was the idea that dance can enhance everyone and improve movement. And she took this very seriously. So, of course, when I was born, I was her first experiment, of which I'm so fortunate for, because for the rest of my life, I keyed on all of that beauty that she imbued in me when I was probably 2 or 3 years old. And by the way, my father picked up on this thread that my mother was weaving through my life. So every time he would teach me skiing, he would follow the same model that my mother was pushing me through. So when I got inducted into the Ski Hall of Fame, or the Intermountain Ski Hall of Fame, I made the mistake of not bringing up something to read. So bear with me on this. So there are so many stories that I'd like to tell you tonight, and there's so many more beautiful people to come tonight. So I just thought I'd like to maybe by chance grab a story or so. So I have these things here, and now I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to reach in here and say, no, not that one. This is by chance, yeah. Lost in a snowstorm, flying my ski. No, that's not good. No, that was not good. No. Oh, here it is. By chance, I just found this. So many of you know my dear friend Ellen Post Foster, and we have been friends for years. And I had my show running on the East Coast, and the theater industry is not really the easiest industry to be in. It's rather cutthroat. So I started using the show to raise money for youth in skiing. And that was my true home. That's where I really loved to be. So our first fundraiser was at Burke Mountain Academy. And Ellen heard about it and said, why don't you bring the show to the West? She was living in Vail, and I'll produce it, and we'll keep the show rolling this way. And so I did, and for that next year we hit Aspen and Sun Valley and Jackson Hole. It was just I love when the curtain comes up, but I hate when the curtain comes down, right, at the end. One day, she comes running to me and she says, Alan, John Garnsey from the Vail Valley Foundation has asked you to be the MC for the World Cup opening ceremony. And he understands you don't speak, so you're now this non-speak embassy. It had this huge budget. It was $85,000, so this is in the early 90s. That's pretty much a lot of money. Flew a big lighting truss up, and the only thing that I didn't quite agree with is they wanted to tie my performance into fireworks. I thought that was a little tacky. Fireworks, right? But he was insisting in that. So what he did was he hired a pyrotechnician out of Hollywood, this brilliant guy, to take 3 pair of ski poles and turn them into fire-breathing, shoot-'em-up kind of deals, full of pyrotechnic explosions. And I don't remember if we actually saw it on the screen. So it comes to the morning of dress rehearsal, and everybody's all ready to go, and I'm feeling pretty good. But the guy didn't show up with the ski poles. And finally he shows up. And so he explains it to me. He says, you know, this is the way they're wired. When you hit, it's like a gun, right? On the grip, you hit the safety. And then you hold the safety and you pull the trigger, and then boom. Okay, so I got this. So they start the dress rehearsal, and I start spinning around, and we do a couple of numbers, and then I pick the pole up that I'm supposed to blow off to set the first bit of fireworks off, and I spin halfway through until I get to the mountain. So let's say this is the mountain. So I'm spinning through right here, and I hit the safety, and it goes off. Right into where former President Ford was going to be sitting, exactly into his seat. So the dudes come out with the trench coats, you know. So I believe I'm one of the only skiers that have fingerprints on the FBI. That is a true story. I asked Ellen, you get to my age, you start thinking you dreamt half of this stuff up. You know, but there is one story that I would, this one right here, just real quick, because I know I'm going long. But it's that most of you know that I have ski studio in Park City, and it's kind of a training facility for alpine and mogul skiers. And we're doing pretty well with it. Well, I just wanted you to know that last week I got the message that my 11-year-old athlete, Liz Eden, won the Intermountain region. So that's this whole region. She won the GS by 4 seconds. So proud of her. And not only that, she beat the boys by 1.5 seconds. Right? So in my home away, this is the way I would like to be paying back, is continuing to produce this technology that I built for originally my ski show work, so that these kids that are so inspired and so driven to want to really become great. So I'm sorry I went on with this. I'm glad you got to meet my beautiful wife. And thank you.
Like many of you, I started out in leather laced-up boots. They were cold, offered little support, the laces would get icy, and it was nearly impossible to keep the snow from piling in on your ankles. And footbeds, I hadn't even heard of them till I was well into my teens. Then came plastic boots. The first ones, different shapes and forms, the Scott boot. Then along came Hansen with the wax-injected liners. And everybody remember the knee-high boots? That was crazy. While the industry was experimenting with plastics, one man, an Australian pentathlete who went to Sweden to study product design, became focused on performance. Sven Coomer first ventured into high performance came when he helped develop the running spike cleat for Puma. His passion for snow led him back to skiing and ski boots. His high-performance leather ski boots topped the podium in the '72 Olympics. Then came the big impacts when he started revolutionizing liners and footbeds. For Nordica, he helped design the famous banana boot, and of course, the Nordica Comp. His impact on designs are still felt today for Head and San Marco and others. His work with Superfeet helped perfect the injected liners, which eventually started his company, ZipFit, which is the major reason why most of us have warm, comfortable ski boots today. Let's dive in and learn more about Sven.
As a prolific boot whisperer for half a century, Sven Coomer made plastic perform without pain, then birthed custom insoles and silicone liners. His designs still resonate with skiers today. By general consensus, Coomer is the most prolific and influential boot designer of the modern era, perfecting the work of the plastic pioneers who preceded him. He first made plastic boots perform better with comfort, then established meticulous, timeless design standards for everyone else to follow. Coomer's achievements include a two-piece, four-buckle overlap design that won hundreds of World Cup events and is still in vogue today, as well as the three-piece cabriolet popular from World Cup downhill tracks to terrain park. He pioneered the high-back spoiler and critically counterbalanced it with an also raised plastic reinforced tongue that allowed skiers to leverage fiberglass skis. Born in Sydney on October 12, 1940, to a Swedish mother and an Australian father, Coomer demonstrated his elasticity at an early age. At 16, he competed in the 1956 Melbourne Olympics in the sprawling modern pentathlon. Coomer first skied in 1960 in Åre, Sweden, and was immediately smitten. University trained in Sweden as a designer and mechanical engineer, he collaborated with Puma on running shoes in 1965, but would ultimately focus his energy on skiing. He arrived in the business in the early 1970s at a critical juncture, just as plastic boots and fiberglass skis entered the scene, and was hired by Nordica, moving to Montebelluna, Italy. What came next was a series of market-changing innovations, led by the legendary banana boat. Nordica soon achieved an astounding 30% market share. Next, Coomer unleashed the gold standard, the still-beloved two-piece Grand Prix race boot, and later debuted the Cabriolet Comp 3, the open-throated three-piece shell that was also Coomer's basis for the Reichle Flexon, still sold today under K2's full tilt banner. Coomer would also be instrumental in creating Superfeet custom molded insoles. Relocating to Mammoth, he would open the award-winning Footloose sport. More advances followed, including using Birkenstock cork to create the Ski Phonic, the first molded footbed that could be created in a ski shop, and introducing the silicone personalization system and then ZipFit. Coomer lives in Aspen with his wife Mary Dominic and is working on his memoirs. For his distinction as the most influential ski boot designer of the modern era, Sven Coomer earns induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Sven Coomer. Having been elected by representation of the 15 million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow upon you, on this night in Big Sky, Montana, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor. And we confer upon you from this date forward, Friday, March 24th, 2023, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where your accomplishments will forever be remembered.
Thank you.
Mary has been my God angel that has helped me. Look, there you are. Pia, we skied together. She was on the Italian team in the 60s. And probably many of you here know her name. Pia is just a fantastic skier and a fantastic person. And looks so Italian. But you can say that about so many women. God bless women. Anyway, I had some notes here to read. It's fun to see Alan again. I haven't seen him since, God, a long time in Utah. But it was a really funny show. Making fun of learning to ski and kids learning to ski and tricks and things like that. So to keep this short, because we're getting all sleepy, including me. What does that mean? What knots? The ski boot thing has been such a dilemma for such a long time for everybody. And to get it out of the mud and confusion and just lots of opinions, it took some time. But I should say that my background has been in extreme athletics and the Olympics and so on, the modern pentathlon, if you're familiar with that. That was the most wonderful thing to be doing, especially to be with horses and galloping around in the backcountry of Australia, jumping, crossing creeks, sometimes when they weren't bone dry. But I come from my mother was the sports girl of sports in her family, and was very promising for the 36 Olympics in both the track and field. She did everything. And also in the winter, ski racing. Not just alpine, but cross country also. So she was a very encouraging, very powerful, strong woman. Miss her a lot, but so do many people that knew her when she came here. Keep asking for her, and she's up there somewhere. But I really have to owe my experiences to the fortune of meeting some really, really interesting people doing research in athletics in the 50s and 60s that are just, well, this is a little late now, but only recently are being used commonly. The Finnish runners were very famous for their fartlek, or speed play, that they used. And distance, 5,000, 10,000 marathon, nobody could get near them. They ran in 2 or 3 and so on. But there's so many different ways of training in running, and then you get to swimming. And my professor at Sydney University, Forbes Carlyle, you might have, geez, stop fiddling. As Alan says. Forbes Carlyle came back from the Helsinki Olympics, where he was officially coaching the Australian swimming team, but also competing in the pentathlon. And he wanted to try pentathlon because he wanted to try it himself. He did everything. He ran a marathon and almost died from hydration. And quite the character. My father, on the other hand, was a violinist with a Royal Academy of Music scholarship in London in the 30s. So he's the opposite. He's a sit back and listen like I do all the time. Taught me to listen. So Forbes and all of these people, there are other coaches along the way that I remember so well because they drilled me in the real fundamentals of floating and gliding. And, well, that's what I learned from swimming, but I learned all from the other sports. You know, in this pentathlon, it used to be a cavalry activity. Officers had to know how to ride any horse cross-country, 5 kilometers. That was the pentathlon event. It's the same actually as in the 3-day event. The second day, before the show jumping, they ran an endurance course. So I'm not sure exactly what the format is today, but they ran a format now of just getting on a show horse and going over a couple of jumps in a yard, as we used to say. But it was so complex in those days. Even the astute, fantastic horsemen of the cavalries, I mean, these guys lived with horses. That was their job. They had a tough time putting that into the one single sport, horse riding, and then a whole day of fencing. And that was unique in it. There's only one hit. The guy who makes the first hit wins the bout and closes it, goes to the next pair. It's very difficult fencing. Fence with normal fencers who get a chance to figure out what you are and who you are, and you do this and have this habit. You know, the tactics. Fencing is a fantastic sport for any athletic activity. So, but anyway, that was the fencing. That used to take a whole day. And then after that, it was rapid fire pistol shooting. The carpet, you know, you see the target like that, it comes off in 3 seconds. So you've got to be very coordinated to lift your hand up and shoot accurately. And in the Olympics, some of the athletes were so nervous. I didn't realize that other people got nervous, but I never did. So those are the sort of things, like in swimming and running after that. Swimming was 300 meters, and the running was 4 kilometers cross-country. So it was quite a mix. And now they're trying to run the whole show in one day in one place because the cavalry and that sort of environment. They had the facilities so dispersed that it would take a whole day to sometimes to get there. But once again, ski boots? What's that? Well, as Billy Crystal quoted one time, I think in his book, one of his books, that he said, "I can't be funny when my feet hurt." Every skier relates to that. And especially
Please tell us why you had to hide away for so long.
Go Mary.
I know I sure appreciate warm, comfortable feet. Thank you so much, Sven. Thank you so much. In the late 1980s, when Greg Stump's film, Blizzard of Oz, took the entire industry by storm, the skiers in that film instantly became icons. Amongst the biggest names and the flamboyant stars of the film was a calm, silky smooth mogul skier from Seattle, Washington, with a dynamic style, 200 centimeter long slalom skis, and a smile a mile wide. Mike Hattrup told me in a recent podcast he never intended to become a ski film star. He knew his life was to hold so much more. And boy, has it. Since the Greg Stump days, Hattrup has become a heavyweight champion of the winter sports industry, designing new products that keep us safe in the backcountry, transforming telemark skis, spearheading some of the biggest brand innovations in the last 3 decades with K2, Fisher, Black Diamond, just to name a few. He's been on the cutting edge of ski technology with K2 and the release of the famed K2-4. He busted open the telemark ski category with the introduction of shape skis. And in the backcountry world, he revolutionized avalanche probes, backpacks, shovels, and spearheaded innovations in ski boots for skis with Fisher. Hattrup is a true legend, a family man, a business executive, and an all-around stand-up guy. But what really impresses me the most about Mike Hattrup is watching his career, that he has proven that ski bums really can hold down a job. There's still hope for some of us. Mike Hattrup has manifested a wonderful life and has proven that nice guys do finish first. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Hattrup.
One of the stars of Greg Stump's seminal 1988 movie, Blizzard of Oz, Mike Hattrup forged a career as a film star, mountain ski guide, and spent 3 decades developing products for skiers to safely and skillfully access big mountains and the backcountry. While fellow Oz stars and now Hall of Famers Glenn Plake and Scott Schmidt parlayed their growing fame as professional skiers into decades of big mountain prominence, everyman Hattrup methodically broke his own trail. His passion for guiding skiers into the backcountry of big mountains led to his pioneering role in the development of safety equipment. From skis and apparel to skins, packs, shovels, and probes, Hattrup's innovations allowed a broad swath of skiers to experience the thrill of big mountains. In his career, Hattrup has worked with more than half a dozen hard and soft good companies, most notably K2, to innovate, market, and sell breakthrough adventure gear. Powder Magazine honored him in 1998 as one of the best 50 skiers in North America, then one of the 48 skiers of our time in 2006. Backcountry Magazine inducted him into its own Hall of Fame. Born in 1962 in Seattle, he started skiing when he was 11 at nearby Alpental. His devotion and results led him to a spot on the U.S. freestyle ski team, though a knee injury derailed that dream. Mogul skiing also led him to Stump, another national caliber freestyle skier. It was Hattrup who introduced Blake to the director, setting the stage for Oz. All told, Hattrup would appear in 5 Greg Stump films and 3 big screen productions for Moore and Miller, including a pair of segments in 2003 and 2014, where he returned to Chamonix. In 1988, Hattrup entered the hard goods world as a product manager at K2. It was the beginning of a career in which he would build the rarest of skill sets as an athlete, certified guide, marketer, sales executive, product manager, and innovator, and ultimately director. In August 2021, Hattrup was named to oversee Black Diamond Ski Division as its business unit director. His role through the years has been to understand the market and the products it needs, and then to work with engineers to build it. Through his entire career, Hattrup steadfastly maintained his home base in Sun Valley, prioritizing a ski and family lifestyle. He and his wife, Claudia, raised 2 hard-skiing children. From turning heads on the big screen to innovating in product design for 3 decades, Mike Hattrup earns induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I skied moguls all my life, and now I got a fake knee. My back is sore, and my head is shiny. Yet here I am, a Hall of Fame inductee.
How in the world do you follow that, right? Oh boy, we need this. You know, this is like late night with Jay Leno here. It's great. Oh, Mike Hattrup, having been elected by representation of the 15 million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow upon you this night in Big Sky, Montana, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor.
Nice!
And we confer upon you from this day forward, Friday, March 24th, 2023, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where, yeah, baby, your accomplishments will forever be remembered.
Nice!
Okay, so I realize that an entrance like that requires a little bit of an explanation. I've been super fortunate throughout my career to work with great brands and great people. And when Black Diamond found out I was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, they made me this belt. And it has every major milestone of my career in it. And this is my team at Black Diamond, Tony, Dan, and Will here. Then listen to this. And what started out as you should bring that belt up on stage, escalated to the robe and the music, and then a feeble attempt at a Muhammad Ali poem. So anyways, I just want to say thanks to the guys. It means a ton to me. And I also want to say thank you, our president, our brand new president, Neil Fisk, is here tonight. And I want to thank him and my boss, KP, who couldn't be here, for the tables, sponsoring the tables, allowed my family and friends to be here. And now that I think about it, Neil's maybe so new that he doesn't realize he paid for those tables, but thank you, Neil. But like everybody here tonight, I'm deeply honored and humbled to be here. It's without a doubt the highest accolade of my career. And the thing that makes it so meaningful is that the ski community that I've worked with and around for the last 30 some odd years are the people who vote, and many of you are in this room. And to know that you feel that in some small way I've helped shape the sport is the biggest compliment I could ever have. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mike. I never planned on making a career in the ski industry. My goal was simply to make it to the U.S. team as a mogul skier and compete on the World Cup circuit. And so when I was 19, I took off a winter quarter from college with my buddy D here that's present tonight, along with the Goon Squad. And we moved to Sun Valley for the winter. And we chose Sun Valley because it's famous for its moguls. It has nothing to do with the fact that the drinking age in Idaho was also 19 at the time. But, so one of my most vivid memories of being there was riding up the Warm Springs lift with an old guy. Old guy, he might have been 40. And when I told him what I was doing, he said, "Yeah, I did that too, and I never left." And I thought, well, I'm not a lifer. This is just a winter quarter for me. And the next winter, the Goon Squad and I went to Squaw Valley, and then Steamboat Springs, and then Winter Park, and then I went to Chamonix with Stump, and finally, after 7 years, I graduated from college with an undergrad degree. I should be a surgeon right now. A friend of mine always says the keys to life are timing and lighting. And there's no question that Greg Stump provided the lighting. Without Greg Stump's and Bruce Benedict's cinematography skills, I wouldn't be standing up here tonight. We all know plenty of skiers that are better than I am that are not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, look around the room. Everybody in this room is a great skier. And if that was it, actually, hang on, I take that back. My brother Peter's here tonight. Peter played professional soccer for 16 years, so I have to thank you, Peter, for focusing your athletic talents on soccer instead of skiing. If Stump provided the lighting, my timing was just dumb luck. I happened to work first for a ski company instead of a boot company. I don't know what the boot guys have been doing for the last 50 years, but if you haven't noticed, we're still skiing on the same 4-buckle overlap that Sven designed in the early 70s, so thank you, Sven. By contrast, part of my time at K2 included the period between the mid-90s and the late 2000s that we'll all look back on as the golden age of ski design. This is when width, shape, rocker, and taper were all stretched to their limits. And I was also fortunate to cross paths with this table of K2 people over here, Anthony Duraco, Tim Petrick, Jeff Matura, Aaron Umbusky, Darren Haugen is over here with the Peak guys, and Bernie Bernthal was with us for a few years as well. I know I'm heavily biased, but this crowd really changed the industry in my eyes, because we didn't invent shape or rocker, but we were the first group to realize that they were superior, and we went all in when everybody else was just dabbling. So, before I close, I want to recognize my kids, Axel and Isabella, who continue to inspire and amaze me and give my life more richest than I ever could have imagined. And my wife, Claudia, for her love and support. Hazi, du bist immer noch meine Traumfrau. So in closing, I want to leave you with one final thought, and that is that what we do in the ski industry is important. And I didn't always believe this. In fact, at K2, we often said, guys, we're not curing cancer or solving world hunger here. We're just selling skis. We're just selling fun. But the pandemic changed my feeling on that, because you didn't need to be locked down in isolation for very long to go stir crazy because of lack of human connection and outdoor exercise. And so, no, we're not solving world hunger or curing cancer, but what we do as an industry provides two things that are deeply important to the human psyche, and that is connection to each other, to community, and to this planet, to the wild spaces that we so greatly cherish. And for that, as an industry, we can all be proud. So, thank you very much. It's a huge honor. Appreciate it.
In the winter of 1988, with the Nagano Games only weeks away, all around Cannon Mountain, Franconia, New Hampshire, there were Go Bode signs everywhere. The Franconia Ski Race Club ski racers would stand on top of Gary's race trail, and before they went down through the gates, would randomly yell, "Go Bode." The place was on fire, for the 18-year-old local was off to the Olympic Games named Bode Miller. Bode turned the ski racing world on its head in 1996, winning 3 gold medals and 1 silver in the Junior World Championships in Sugarloaf, Maine, on a pair of shaped K2 fours. He found his way to the World Cup in '98 and off to the Olympics in the world stage in Nagano. I did an interview with Bode right before the games, and he simply said to me he wanted to make fast normal. During his career, he was famous for knowing how fast his splits were in training and competition, and he was a fearless competitor, not afraid to risk it all. Understanding the basic thought in ski racing, it was that the fastest one to the bottom wins. Miller proved time and time again, with outrageous recoveries, dramatic come-from-behind finishes, that raw talent, determination can carry you all the way to the top. Whenever I'm in Europe and I say I'm from New Hampshire, people will say, "Home of Bode Miller." He's revered in the Alps, and his name is echoed around the classic World Cup trails and Olympic runs around the world. This boy from New Hampshire that roamed the trails of Cannon Mountain while his mother worked in the admin office, who forged his own workout routines, questioned the foundational beliefs of ski technique, and used his mind, spirit, and body to change the game forever. My friends, the rest is history.
Fiercely independent, remarkably gifted, and always innovating, Bode Miller revolutionized the ski world by doing it his way and winning repeatedly in all 5 alpine events. As the most successful male alpine skier in U.S. history, Miller's resume includes 6 Olympic and 5 World Championship medals, including 4 gold, 33 World Cup wins, 79 podiums, and 2 World Cup overall globes. During an unprecedented 16-day stretch at the onset of the 2005 season, Miller won races in each of the core disciplines: slalom, giant slalom, Super G, and downhill, a feat that has never been equaled by a male skier, nor likely ever will. Miller is also the only male skier who has won 5 or more times in each event, and along with Chatil-Andre Aumont, is the only male skier to win Olympic medals in 4 disciplines, including gold in the Vancouver 2010 combined. The son of counterculture parents, Miller spent the earliest years of his Franconia, New Hampshire youth in a backwoods cabin without plumbing or electricity. After earning a scholarship to attend the Carabasset Valley Academy, he steadily climbed the worldwide rankings, first as a technical skier and later in the speed events. Miller inspired legions of U.S. fans with his risk-taking style and devil-may-care attitude. He introduced the world to shape skis and adhered to his own strength training regimens, building a makeshift gym with farm implements in the family barn. Miller won his 33rd and final World Cup race at Beaver Creek during the 2012 season and skipped 2013 so he could return for an encore at the 2014 Sochi Olympics. On February 16, 2014, he became the oldest Olympic medalist in alpine skiing when he won the bronze in Super G at age 36. Since retiring from the World Cup Tour, Miller is engaged actively in the ski industry, consulting with Alpine X on indoor ski hills and pioneering the Peak Ski Company with longtime friend and business colleague Andy Worth. Miller is married to Morgan Beck Miller, a former professional volleyball player, raising their family in Big Sky, Montana. As America's foremost male alpine ski racer of all time, and a legend around the world in the sport, Bode Miller earns induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Glad you little lads stayed awake. It's pretty special tonight. You know, everybody else's heart is just going like this too. Pretty special. Oh, wow. Okay. Bode Miller, having been elected by representation of the 15 million skiers and snowboarders in America, and let's just imagine how many of those other racers around the world, we hereby bestow upon you on this night in Big Sky, Montana, your new home, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor. And we confer upon you from this day forward, Friday, March 24th, 2023, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where your accomplishments will forever be remembered.
are some tough acts to follow. What struck me when I knew I had to speak to you guys tonight was more about the group that I was joining than actually my accomplishments. I think you've seen people tonight that have done things that have changed all of our lives on the snow, but also in some cases off the snow, and have informed business decisions and aspirations across spectrums way outside of skiing. And I think joining that, I think it's in a good way balances out what you see on the screen, which you've seen in lots of athletes, is a bunch of ego or I was great and won stuff. And while I think that's good, I think this is a great moment for me to establish and to also admit the humility that comes with skiing, and also joining a group of people who have spent their entire life being out on the mountain and skiing, but also impacting everyone else's lives. So I'm not of the experience level of some of the people who have been up here tonight. So I hope that a lot of my best influence on the sport, on my kids, and for you guys is still to come. But I think it's a really remarkable thing to see the people up here and then reflect back on the people who have allowed me to get to where I am now, and also that I still rely on family and coaches and friends to support me in where I want to go. So I think, I don't want to say I've taken people for granted regularly, but I think anyone who's been a young man and tried to do something like ski racing will admit that they have done that. So I want to take this moment to thank my tables, my family, friends, coaches. It's been an awesome time. I know there's been a lot of suffering and pain in the midst of it as well, but I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. And I appreciate the help. I appreciate the effort and the sacrifices that happened and that continue to happen. And I do want to say briefly that I think we see the ski industry. It was interesting to hear Mike speak, and I've known Mike for a lot of years, and as well as several other people who have been up here. He was an idol of mine and influenced a lot of things that I did, but he spoke about the industry kind of in a slightly more broad context than what we think of as a sport or an industry. And there's another step to that. It's not just, it's a lifestyle, right? And we think of maybe sports like surfing as a lifestyle, but skiing as a lifestyle is incredibly informative. It teaches and it develops people. It's humbling and inspiring, and a lot of other stuff as well. And I was a beneficiary of that, and I think that we all probably have been, and I think that's remarkable. But what I mean about that is that while people are honored in this, this context of their accomplishments, I think that everybody who skis makes a contribution to that. It's like almost like an entity itself, and it makes people want to do it, but it also contributes to what people take away from it when they do it, and the overall sort of feel of being a skier, going skiing. And in that sense, I think that there's value to everyone's, and significant value in some cases, to everyone's participation in the sport. It's not a normal thing. It's not I love football. It's not football. It's not just a sport. It really is it's a life changing entity that I think we've all plugged into, and I am thankful that I've got to do it as much as I have. And it's been amazing to be here in Big Sky and have my induction here right next to my home, and welcome you guys here, and hopefully we'll make some good turns tomorrow. Thank you.